Previously on Seeking Justice.
John Heinzelman is the veteran Scottsdale police detective currently in charge of the Robert Fisher murder investigation. Have you listened to the podcast, or?
Yeah, I listened to him.
I guess you're sort of among the assumption that he's dead. Am I correct on that one?
My issue with it is we've never had, in the 19 years, we've never had a verified, credible tip.
As a crime reporter, I've covered hundreds of murders, done dozens of ride-alongs, gone undercover on sting operations. I've even been invited to the FBI Academy to see the training that new agents go through. I've walked death row, seeing only a set of eyes staring at me through the small slits. I know their names and I know their crimes. These are the ones who've been caught, and it's those ones that got away that still get me. Join me, Rob Koebel, as I go out seeking justice, the hunt for FBI's most wanted, Robert Fisher.
Continuing my phone call with Scottsdale Police Detective John Heinzelman, he shares some of the frustrations he's had with this case, those unknowns, almost 20 years later.
My bigger question, which we've also never figured out, is what did he do for that the initial 10 days? I mean, there's no, we literally, the last piece of physical evidence of him personally is that ATM video. And that was done, and I think we're in agreement, that was done as I know they're going to find this, and I know they're going to find, maybe his hope was that the whole place was going to blow up, and it's going to be like you see on TV, where we'll never figure out how many bodies were in here or what happened. The entire house was incinerated, and clearly that didn't happen. But you look at this and you say, but if you were planning this, why did you do that then? Why did you go to the ATM and take out a pretty modest amount of money? Now, granted, maybe that was the maximum he could get, but go to the bank a couple days prior and take out cash, and nobody's looking at it. Nobody's seeing it twice,
Right.
Or start saving money and putting it in a box, a little ammo can somewhere under your bed, planning on this day. Okay, here's the day I'm going to do all this. So the fact that where he went, I mean, that's the more interesting part to me, is what did he do? We have no credit card activity. We have no sightings. The family didn't say they talked to him. Nothing happened after the discovery of the murders. And then the next thing that pops up is all of a sudden this 10 days later, which again was questioned as to whether or not, is this real? Is this something? Did the tipster call it in? And are they part of it because they took him out of here? And they said, okay, now that we're...
because you never identified that tipster, did you?
Not initially. We didn't talk to him until, I think it was 6 months or longer after. My recollection is he drove from there to a convenience store, called his friend in Mesa, who called us. Hey, the truck's up there. We called Yavapai County, I think that is there, and then said, could you go check? And that's when the deputy went out there and said, yep, this is the vehicle.
That's right.
And he's a guy, and he's been up there for years too. So he had a rifle with a scope, and he was able to get into a position with a long eye, looking at it and saying, "Yep, I got it here. The dog is here. Everything's here." And he just maintained it until we got there. So he sat for a couple hours.
And that's a good point. The 10 days, I assume that Robert takes the money out, drives up into that area, drops the car, in 10 days. But that's not a guarantee. I think that dog probably would have been a lot worse shape had it really been a full 10 days.
Right. Well, and in that area, when you go up there, that is a pretty popular area for dispersed camping.
It is.
And it wasn't necessarily hidden.
No.
I mean, it was off the road, but that was a fire road that was used pretty regularly.
Yep.
So even the deputies that we talked to when we went up there a few years back said this thing hadn't been sitting here for 10 days. It just wouldn't, because people would have noticed by then. I think even he said that it wasn't here a couple days ago. So
wow. Well, and
the fact
also,
that it was more recent.
Well, and he pointed. I mean, he the way he pulled it in, the tags were pointed right out to that road. If you were like, ooh, hey, honey, that could be that silverette. Oh, there's the tags right in front. Another very obvious thing.
Mm-hmm. And that was part of it as well, because in talking to some of the folks up there, where they said, which I wasn't privy to that at the time, to look at it and to say, we were putting that out on the radio and we were putting that on the news, and it was really getting a lot of radio news time up there. The fact that he was wanted in this murder, and that he spent a lot of time in that area. So the local radio stations were putting that out there. Please be on the lookout for this vehicle and this license plate and this person. So it wasn't like, well, you're out of the valley, you're 75 miles outside of Phoenix, so you're anonymous. They were doing a media blitz more or less every day, which is why ultimately when the person that we talked to said, yeah, I heard it on the radio. I was up here traveling through, and they kept talking about this Fisher and this Forerunner, and lo and behold, there it was. But no cell phone, no anything to call. So he says, by the time I got to the convenience store, and then of course he doesn't call us, he calls a friend, and then continues on his travels. I think he was heading up to Washington or Oregon or somewhere.
Yep.
So
Yep, he was. And then he wasn't back. I think he finally tracked him down through his brother. I mean, it's... Right.
And so even then, it was one of these things where we had him go into a local police station and call there and do an interview. So that's what I said. Even there, okay, what do we have? Is this part of it? To say, hey, you just have to tip off the police that the car's here so they can start looking this direction. And meanwhile, I'm heading. I mean, this is even pre-September 11th, so going across the Mexican border was relatively easy. Getting on a plane was relatively easy.
And then again, if you went off the reservation there, the guides that I've been with are like 2 days. You can be in New Mexico. You can be anywhere. And then next to the car was a big piece of shit that he left. To me, it was like, hey, fuck you guys. I've played around with you long enough, and it's been fun. Mm-hmm. I'm always the one in control. Goodbye. I don't know. I mean, that was just mine, but that's sort of a Hollywood ending to this guy's very awful life,
In the made-for-TV movie, are we going to have that? Are we going to have the actor saying, okay, now one more movie, one more good one right here, and then I'm on my way?
A big deal was made about Fisher having an affair with a masseuse/prostitute who he may have got a urinary tract infection from. Friend St. Mary found out about this and was going to leave him because this wasn't the first time he had cheated on her.
Or were you ever able to find a masseuse/prostitute?
No, nothing that, I mean, that's another one of those things. Like, was there a girlfriend? Was there this relationship? As far as I know, we've never had positive proof that existed.
Okay, so just that the fact that he had a urinary tract infection was really sort of secondhand knowledge from the people. Only like 2 people or 3 people he told at Mayo.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Was like, and I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know all the details that without looking at the report. But to say there's kind of speculation as to say where he got that from, and did he get it from? Was it just some medical issue, or was it something more? I guess more nefarious than that. Was it? I don't think it's ever been the 100% verified one way or the other.
Okay, because that was my question. I think one of the friends had mentioned that he met her then at the Scottsdale Road and McKellips Road interchange there at the Hospitality Suites. I mean, it was specific, mm-hmm. So it was like, you know better than I do what people will come up with or whatever. And again, the reports I read are redacted, so. Some of them I can figure out that, it comes from the brother-in-law. The other ones I figure out it comes from a closer friend. That's what I'm piecing together, at least on my side. Coming up in the next episode of Seeking Justice, let's keep the lines of communication open if that's okay.
That sounds great to me.
Man, you're awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome, Rob. Thank you.
Yep. Talk to you later.
All right, we'll talk again.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.
If you or anyone you know has information about this case, please contact your local FBI office immediately and let us know what you found as well. Seeking Justice: The Hunt for the FBI's Most Wanted Robert Fisher is a Back to One Entertainment production, hosted and produced by Rob Koebel, edited and produced by J.J. Geiger. This podcast was recorded under a SAG-AFTRA collective bargaining agreement. All rights are reserved.